our presenter today to all of us. So our presenter today, his name is Dr. Leonard Chrysostomos Epaphras. Dr. Leo, we always call him Dr. Leo, is a faculty researcher and training instructor in Universitas Kristen Duta Wacana and also in Indonesian Consortium for Religious Studies, Yogyakarta. Paleo teaches history of religions, theology and modern science, religious studies, advanced study of Christianity, and many more. And today, in this Wednesday forum, Paleo will sharing with us and have a discussion with us on the topic of enduring the gimmicks and polemics, digital performance of religious minorities during the pandemic. This topic is based on Paleo research last year, in which I also involved in there, and it is will focus on religious minority communities' experiences in digital engagement. So without further ado, I give Paleo time to discuss more about this topic to all of us. Please, Paleo.
Thank you. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us in this very fine program. We already running this Wednesday forum since colonial times. I think it's very long time. So yeah, thank you. Bung Eric already introduced me, and it's already mentioned that our discussion today is based on our research project last year, supported by SPS, the Graduate School of UGM, and also Oslo Coalition. Because this full-fledged project, so I want to introduce the member of the research team. We have Mbak Ida over there. Mbak Ida, please. We have Mas Akbar as well over there. And Bung Eric here. And we have Mas Irfan, in fact, Mas Irfan is in Jakarta at the moment, so he cannot join us physically, but will join us in YouTube channel and also in spirit, because he sent prayer to today to make sure our program running well. Yeah, why I introduced those members of the team, because later on the Q&A session, all the difficult questions, all the presumably tough response goes to them. All the funny and fun and engaging questions goes to me. That's the arrangement. Okay, I want to start with this movie, short movie, very short. It's only less than 1 minute, just to cheer up our. You understand, right? It's a very quick one. It came from, I extracted this from Konghucu Garis Lucu account in Twitter. So you can see how digital technology truly mobilize people's religious feeling, expression, and so on. That's more or less the discussion for today. But let's get serious. Another movie. Hopefully you know this movie. There's no sound. It's deliberately no sound, because hopefully you know this movie 2 years ago in July 2021. Our Minister of Religious Affairs, Gus Yakut, share happiness with Baha'i community. But the important thing I want to show you is that here, the movie is re-upload to Baha'i Indonesia YouTube channel. But if you can see, you can check more in more detail. You can see in the below comments are turned off. So you can imagine what happened, why the comment is turned off. If you check also the Baha'i Indonesia in Instagram, the similar policy also applies. Comments turned off. I think that's somehow manifesting or reflecting the challenge of minority religious groups, especially micro-minority religious group. Because you can see there's two things. One, they has to limit the digital presentation, reduce it only to announcement, a kind of announcement, information, public education, not even public education, only informational material, no more religious, no digital engagement. And secondly, also see that this is very controversial movie because a lot of Indonesians challenge the move by the minister because it's not supposed to be, because Baha'i for some Indonesians considered illegal religion. This is also another issue we will discuss today. Even though this greeting is only continuing the earlier administration in Ministry of Religious Affairs, Bapak Lukman Hakim Saifuddin, that's already somehow recognized officially Baha'i community by the government. But interestingly, one of the NGO representative, so on the other side, many Indonesians unhappy with this move. The other side, they are very happy. Many NGOs, CSOs celebrated this Pak Gus Yakut move, but others, one of the NGOs representatives cynically responded to such of a greeting that it was merely a gimmick as the business of discrimination toward minority groups ran as usual. That's why the title of this presentation, Enduring the Micro-Minority Group Has to Endure This Kind of Gimmick. The context of the research is, of course, we can see that digital platforms is very much promise a more democratic and pluralistic social space for religious minority to express their religiosity. But in reality, it is a complex situation, as it is a place, the digital platform is a place for digital contestation, friction, and polarization. The intolerance groups employ it as a channel for hatred, hate spin, disinformation, and other digital ills, including toward minority groups. And furthermore, I think we learned as well that there's a framing of the meaning of religion and belief. There is a very complicated discussion, and a lot of papers and articles already discussed about this. Regardless of the constitution guaranteeing the Indonesians to profess and practice their religion, the state ensure the boundary of the normative religion, what's so-called agama, what's so-called acceptable definition of religion is truly guarded by the state. Firstly, it only included what is called in Islam as people of the book. So what in the first period of Indonesian independence, only 3 religions that's recognized as religion: Islam, Christianity, and Catholicism. But later on, it's followed with Hinduism in 1950s, Buddhism in the end of 1960s, and Confucianism somehow in 1960s. All the heterodox views, mystical or the science of it, the science of the inner being, batinan, and indigenous religions fall into the category of aliran kepercayaan, streams of belief. The latter often press to return into the fold of their mother religion, harus kembali ke agama induknya, because the heterodoxy, the syncretic nature, and they are regarded as people who do not yet have a religion, especially for the indigenous religion. Furthermore, beyond the 6 state-sponsored religions, there are other pan-ethnics and world religions, such as Sikhism, Baha'ism, Judaism, and Taoism, living at the fringe of the state regulation. The religious affairs supervise the 6 religions and Penghayat kepercayaan by the Ministry of Education and Culture, while the rest wander between the 2. So Sikhism, Baha'ism, Judaism, and Taoism, and probably as well Zoroastrianism is not truly covered by the government. Another context is the pursuit of what's so-called harmony. This is another challenge. Yeah. Religious minority, primarily non-Muslims, specifically aliran kebenaran, face challenges of the complicated, effective structure and implementation of discrimination by the state and the non-state actors. As the Indonesian, sorry. Oh, sudah ya ini ya.
Sudah.
Yeah, as one, okay. Religious minorities face, as one report indicated, all the heart of religious discrimination is the Indonesian pursuit of preserving kerukunan beragam, religious harmony. Beyond the harmony is the supremacy of the majority group, and the report furthermore argued that majoritarianism manifested in the arbitrary law enforcement and the active role of the local religious groups in controlling the minorities. Majoritarianism restricted minorities from accessing services and expressions, including digital performances, transforming the digital space into a lawless frontier. Even though we have Undang-Undang ITE, the law of number, something, 2008 and 2016, but it remains lawless frontier for many of the minority groups. As we know, COVID-19 pandemic forced religious groups into more profound digital performance, where many activities go online. And the last context is the condition of digital divide and digital literacy program, which I will later elaborate. Okay, this is the, in general, this is the picture, the map of digital divide, digital digital dividends and digital divide. As you can see, the government successfully to mobilize each big islands, its primary islands, to have a more exposure to digital technology, 75.6% in Sumatra, and so on, 78% in Java, and so on and so forth. But in general, the contribution toward the digital expression and so on is remain dominated by Java Island. You can see here that Java Island consisted of 43.9% of digital penetration. Okay, the subjects of our research is three. One belong to the state sponsored, the six state sponsored religion, in which it is Confucianism, because Confucianism is made up 0.0004% of the population, and there is still up until now unended debate between Confucians and Buddhism in terms of overlapping categories of membership. The second group we are engaging with is the non-state sponsored religion, Baha'ism, Sikhism, Taoism, and Judaism. And the third one is what's called Penghayat organizations. Included in it is indigenous religion, spiritual movement. Up until when we started our research last year, July 2022, we depended on the encyclopedia of Penghayat, published by Kementerian Pendidikan, Ministry of Education and Culture. There are still 174 organizations, different kind of organizations, paguyuban, communities, and even individual persons. But now there is an additional two groups, two organizations. Betul ya, Mas Anju? I need to confirm to the Nabi of Penghayat. 176. Ya, terlalu banyak ya. And the last one is what's called indigenous communities, masyarakat adat. In this case, is we engage with Kasapukan, Kitaglar, and Sundawiwitan, and also Boti communities in Timor. This is the research location from Medan, Jakarta, Kitaglar, Semarang, Salatiga, Jakarta, then Sumba, and Timor. Yeah. Around 15%, this is the outcome of the mapping. Only around 50% of those around 144 tambah 174 tambah 5 berarti
179.
ya 179. Out of 179 groups we are trying to engage. Of course, we don't enough time and funded to truly check one by one, but we make a selection to them. Around only 15% of the observed groups digitally presentable in different digital platforms. So very, very small number, about only 23 groups or organizations. Yeah, this is the many channels of their presence in digital landscape, mostly in Facebook. There are 16 organizations appear in Facebook with different digital engagement. One is, for example, Sikh community is very active. They have their own regular posting, but others is either between exist and not exist, antara ada dan tiada. Very poetic. Okay, then how to understand this challenging situation? First of all, we call it the fusion of horizons. There is a dynamic between what's so-called technology of sacredness and digital technology, especially when we come to ritual and belief narrative. There is a technology of sacredness. Yeah. What does it mean? Many religious rituals are dependent on the logic of space and time created by the sacred narrative. Okay. And the technology of the sacredness established over time, especially through ritual. Yeah. Hence, modern technology, such as digital one, plays a peripheral. It's not the center of their expression. Yeah. The peripheral role in, for example, documenting the process. Sometimes in a voyeuristic manner and communicating it to the world. In digital documentation, the entire performance maintains the order of meaning as the social media viewers occupy a lower position than those who present and perform the religious ritual. Even so, there is a limit of the viewer's manipulation of that space-time performance. It could not be substitute the sense of being there. Digital cannot substitute this sense of time, space, and time. Yeah. But on the other hand, many rituals, such as Penghayat, Sikh communities, Jewish and Baha'i communities, provided portable ritual infrastructure, especially during the pandemic. So, for example, Sikh, they have their own home-based ritual, so no problem if they cannot visit or attend the service in, what's the name of the Gurdwara? The name of the Sikh sanctuary, something like that. So they can perform the routine effectively during the lockdown. Another case in hand is a Jewish community. This is a very interesting case because there are some of the Jews, we have several Jewish communities in Indonesia, not all of them truly in connection. Ristic really created a virtual minyan. Minyan is a quorum that's for Jewish people. They need a quorum. They cannot simply come to the synagogue and perform service. They need, for the traditional one, they need 10 males, not including the female. Only the progressive that can include the female, but the traditional one need 10 male in order to establish a virtual minyan or quorum. For a Sabbath observance, only for the Sabbath. But we encountered that because they cannot keep their group in unity, in unison, they are scattered throughout the country. For example, the leadership of the community in Lampung, he has community membership in Magelang, in Jakarta, in Papua, in Maluku, and so on. So how they establish quorum for the Sabbath observation? They using line technology, line application. Even though it has to in certain degree. They have their own dalil for that. They have their own logic, but they has to overstep the halakha. Halakha is the Jewish law. Or in the other hand, we have also the condition, for example, the Kasapuan Siptagelar. This is a very interesting case because they are much more advanced compared to the average religious community. They have their own television, they have their own radio, they have their own internet network. And so traditional community doesn't mean their lack of technological engagement. The community, the Ciptagelar community, does not see digital technology as an antithesis of their traditional lives. In the word of one of the community leaders, Abah Uki, we have to adapt to the wind of change. Yeah, while probably in the more established religions, they are still debate whether we want to adopt. For example, in my religious community, in church, in Christian community, there's a lot of debates whether we have to, how the level of sacredness if you join the service in the church or at home as a complementary. This is very challenging for the Catholic groups because Catholics need accepting body of Christ, and we cannot send body of Christ to go food, right? So it's impossible. So that kind of debate, but you can see Ciptagelar community is very welcome to the second issue is, yeah, so there's the arbitrariness of using digital technology. We cannot simply use it. Yeah, the other debate, the other issue we addressing through this research is there is a complicated relationship between digital inclusion and the politics of digital literacy. Digital literacy is a campaign, big campaign by Ministry of Communication and Information, Cominfo. That's the underline is if you adopt digital technology, you are modern, something like that. So modernism, engagement with modernity is the marker is adopting digital technology. But you can see this is very complicated when it comes to this situation, the situation for this micro minority group. Of course, not all of them, but many. Yeah. Since 2020, the Ministry of Communication and Information issued a National Digital Literacy Index. There's a digital literacy index literasi digital, that gauging 4 indicators: digital skills, digital ethics, digital safety, and digital culture. The scale is between 1 to 5. 1 is the less literacy, digital literacy, and 5 is the most exposed to the digital technology. And according to the ministry, every year we are getting more and much better in gaining digital literacy competence. From 3.46 in 2020 to 3.49 in 2021, 3.54 in 2022. But as earlier stated, limited digital mastery, limited human resources, limited technological infrastructure, as I mentioned, many, especially Penghayat indigenous regions, living off grid of those digital networks. Of course, it's very challenging for them. Based on our observation, only Baha'i, Ciptagelar, Confucian groups, Kaharingan, Paguyuban, Kauruh, Kebatinan Jawa Lugu, Perjalanan Community, Perguruan Trijaya, and Sikh communities that maintain a more programmatic digital presence. Other is, again, between exists and not exist. The ghosting all the time by the technology. Okay, then that's the yeah, another issue is kepercayaan as a category, as a discourse. Based on our observation, it became a proxy of grievance discontent, and the bastion of Indonesian liberalism. What does it mean? I lost my notes here, so if you check MLKI is Majelis Luhur Kepercayaan, the Supreme Council of Believers toward God Almighty, something like that. You can get the tagline menjaga or something like that, menjaga kebinekaan atau something like that. Nggak tahu loh gimana sih. So kebinekaan. And you check as well account, this informal account, this like came from MLKI. Account, Twitter account, and Instagram account, agama dan Nusantara. If I'm not mistaken, that's one name. Then you always get that Nusantara is belong to us, and we are the promoter of kebinekaan, and in disguise they in disguise they challenge the notion that country that all the pan-ethnic religion, all the world religion is perfect. So that's the narrative running along this idea of. So they take the torch of civilization that we are the bearer of Indonesian morality. And another thing is the proxy of grievance and discontent means, of course, it's a very multiple term, very ambitious term. But we found cases that atheist group or not atheist individuals contacted MLKI. MLKI is the umbrella organization of kepercayaan. But not all kepercayaan belong to them. Undang-Undang is not registered in MLKI. Atheist individuals contacted MLKI. Can we join the kepercayaan in order they can put kepercayaan in their life? We are truly fed up with all those persons. They don't believe anymore to God. Gnostic is all irreligious group. They are trying to apply to MLKI. Boleh nggak kami pakai KTP kepercayaan? The proposal is blocked, of course, because according to they have to fully representing groups, and groups is somehow connected to MLKI. But you can see kepercayaan now become a channel, proxy of this grievance. Secondly, we interview representative of Jewish communities, different Jewish communities, and both of them also their ID kepercayaan. Beforehand, most of the Jewish community is either Christian or Christianity or Islam in there, but they know more. So now we use kepercayaan. Yeah, in the end, this group is has to endure, and in many cases, they encounter misrepresentation. For example, 60 is always, and their ID card is Hinduism, and always misrepresented with Hinduism. Confucianism, in many occasions, misrepresented as Buddhist. But Baha'i, at least informers engaging with, they keep the blank in the column of religion. It is also accepted because protected by law 2013. Okay, I think that's all for initiating further discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Paleo, for the session. Now I open discussion session for all of us. Maybe for this round, I will open for 3 questions. we welcome you. Don't be afraid to ask to Paleo anything related to this topic or anything you want to ask. Everything under the sun. So 3 from all of you. Don't lie. maybe Pazen want to ask first. or Mas Ancu maybe, because this topic is very related to Mas Ancu. Okay.
Thank you. Moderator. Masla, thank you very much for the presentation and doing that, observing what's going on in social media for those minorities. One, if you don't mind to clarify or give some explanation about the politics of digital literacy. Yeah, if you explore more about that, that mean I love the term, the politics of something. You know, that sometimes problematize, you know, show something hidden, and so like what is hidden in there behind that. Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Leo want to directly respond to this. Okay.
Oh, mati. Very unprofessional. Sudah mendatangkan pakar. Yeah, thank you very much. It's not an elaborate ideas, but when engage with we 2 kali atau 3 kali, 3 FGDs ya, 3 or 4 FGDs ya, because then we realized that the very fanfare of digitizing Indonesia is truly, probably not truly overlooked, but the unintended consequence is overlooking. Certain groups mass in digital technology, even without support of the government or without the support of the group. So, but many of them we mentioned with the number 15%, which means there's a lot of, this 15% is truly of imagine within their groups, at least account, so on. But this WhatsApp account is simply not to use to the public their religiosity. So, few project that literacy how many kabupaten di Palopo, Minahasa, Bitung, for what's so called Indonesia, apa namanya? Cakap. The hashtag is massive campaigns in order to mobilize a huge part of Indonesian, and it's also along the ended apa namanya, saya lupa, proyek Pita that started from 1999. So that's the issue. Of course, they don't say this is coming from our own understanding. This is kind of politics of digital literacy, because the underlying ideology is if you gain access to digital, you will have more opportunity for your own business, for your own social mobilization, and so on and so forth. More or less is something like that. Another thing is started 2020, May 2020, President Jokowi established what's so-called Strategi Nasional Kecerdasan Artificial Intelligence National Strategy, which is after the brain become a single super body, is we don't hear anymore the continuation of that vision. But you can see how the logic of the state is try to bring huge number of Indonesians toward the digital advancement. The intended consequence is like that, because the idea of developmentalism and the vision of very what I mentioned here is the instrumentalized and very instrumentalized, not instrumentalized, but what vision? I forgot my own slide. Utilitarian vision. The utilitarian vision, which truly touch upon many levels of societies, and especially some of the Penghayat and indigenous religions. More or less something like that, but thank you very much. It's pushed us to truly define what's so-called politics of digital literacy. Thank you. Saya langsung jawab saja ya, karena nggak pakai nyatat. Ya, langsung dijawab saja. And this for the concern of TikTok content as well, jadi supaya kelihatan lebih lively, nggak pakai nyatet-nyatet. Gitu. Thank you very much for your attention. Mungkin ada di ini, di channel. Gak usah dipaksa, ta. Kita bisa nanya di kelas.
Discuss further in the class. Okay, thank you. So you mentioned before about the, what is it, called Bahai, and they upload some video. I also check it on the YouTube and also in Instagram. As you said that Bahai in the digital media quite active like that. But at the same time, I check in the Instagram or YouTube there are some video, only 8 video, I mean, and also in the Instagram the last posting is in 2021. So yeah, it's been 2 years until now. They didn't posting anything, and the last posting is the celebration of Idul Adha. Yeah, the something that is interesting here, I mean, the comment is off, turned off, and also in the Instagram there is no comment, but there is like and share, just like and share. However, have you interviewed them deeper about the reason why they didn't turn on the comment, and also as the micro minority group, the reason why they join in the digital religion? Just that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, digital truly truly teach many religious community to embrace the course, especially the religions that have a strong missionary values, missionary spirit. Of course, digital would be their own, one of the forefront of their presentation to the public. Hopefully they can gain more membership through that. Yeah, I mentioned about the challenge of digital infrastructure and digital mastery. Many of the groups doesn't have dedicated officers to deal with that. Even Sikh is they don't have special officer like us. We have people that truly handle the broadcasting of this program, but they don't have that, including the Baha'i. But Baha'i, in this regard, why they log the comments, we ask them. They simply they have they suffer long time discrimination, not only in Indonesia, because Baha'i is considered part of the Abrahamic tradition, but a unique one because it's a new religion. It's only 2 centuries old. 2 centuries old. So they are a classic example of what so-called in René Girard, prayer enemy, brotherhood enmity, permusuhan di antara saudara sendiri. Baha'i is an example of that. We, of course, Christianity and Islam is all the time, many centuries, fight to each other, but they have in this equal foot. But Baha'i is smaller. This is a micro minority, even in Indonesia, especially in Indonesian context, they are micro minority, very, very small number. So the expression of the informer is to protect from destructive discussion, unproductive and destructive discussion, which mean we can deduce that they are already undergone so many debate, unfruitful debate, unnecessary debates, attacks, and so on. So that's only a manifestation of that long suffering discrimination. For other groups, more or less is something like that as well. But Baha'i is special case. But also Jewish people, Jewish groups, but they have their own internal dispute. In fact, but they don't lock the comments. Yeah. Thank you. Reza, sampai Reza aja sudah selesai.
My name is Reza. I'm from CRCS. In the following years, the future, maybe 5 or 10 years, maybe, I think the digital world, the digital reality will be very prevalent in our lives. And so a lot of power will be transferred to digital reality. How do you think this transfer? I think the groups, the people who are going to be there first and going to be the fittest in the digital realm, they will have the most power. How do you think the shift in maybe in Christian, if you want to specialize in Christianity or maybe in other religions, theology, how they connect with the digital shift in their doctrines, in their organization? Do you notice some like, is Christian is going to be adaptable, more adaptable, or is Islam is going to be more fit? Do you notice something like that? Because it's going to, I think it's going to be from that data, from that observation, we can maybe predict the future power shift in the digital reality, I think. Mario, do you want to combine two questions? Or okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The question won't be funny, but I am. Okay.
You're funny, right? Whatever you say.
Okay, so yeah, in your presentation, you mentioned that this research involves Sunda Wiwitan and then Ciptagelar and also Boti, but yeah, it's only a small group. I mean, like small representative of Penghayat Kepercayaan. But then you mentioned as well the MLKI. So yeah, related to the digital performance, yeah, those communities, they don't have to show that they are techno savvy or literate by the digital, because I think their religion is not like missionary, yeah, so it's not necessary for them to be to perform in the digital realm. And why you choose that three penghayat kepercayaan in your research, and how about the others, and yeah, related to the performance. Thank you.
Thank you. I will respond to Fanny's question first because ya, yang satunya bisa masuk kelas. Ya, that's why penelitian, that's why this research is very cool and keren ya, because for us is new new as well. We don't know yet. We have a presumption that the proposal saying that this digital technology will set aside the micro minority groups, not all minority groups, the micro minority. And when we said minority in term, firstly in term of number, yeah, firstly in term of number, because minority is the very loaded term, very contested term as well. So this term is macro minority, very, very small number of group. That's why we choose after certain discussion, Confucianism, and so on and so forth. So that's very true. That's what we find as well. That's this not necessarily as a group, yeah, not as an individual. Individual probably they have their own Instagram account for their own personal and individual goal. But as a part of the larger communities, yes, then we found not all of them truly need to engage with digital technology. That's one thing. Secondly, they want to, because some of them suffered misunderstanding, they want to use this as part of their public education. This is a tricky term because they never use, they truly avoiding the term using of gaining membership and so on. They keep the term, almost all of the group we are interviewed, promotion, to educate people, to give information to the larger world, what is Kaharingan, what is Sikhism, and so on and so forth. That's why we already mentioned in my presentation, we need to understand this is not belong to developmentalism vision, that's people gaining access to digital technology, then they become modern. Religion have their own logic of time and space, and being present and unpresent is, they have a lot of complex set, not only these micro minority groups, but also even Christianity, Catholicism, for example, I already mentioned Catholicism, have a very challenging times, the earlier part of pandemic, because they have communion that's apa namanya, menghayati, experiencing body of Christ. It cannot be substitute with another food. For example, in my church, we simply make a home-based communion. It's okay, and we have our own liturgy. But for Catholics, no, because the body of Christ has to be consecrated. So that kind of logic is not necessarily depends on digital technology. That's what we found. So that's more or less the response to your question. Ya, jadi memang ada isu-isu yang kita tahu lah ini ada batas teknologi digitalnya. After we come to the field. We don't know yet. This is very, I think we cannot, I don't know Mas Ancu, but thus far there's no research that's truly checking on the digital performance of this group. Ya kan, betul nggak? Kayaknya one and the only ya. No research, earlier research that dealing with digital performance for these minority groups. Mapping and try to make. Makanya keren sekali penelitian. Oh enggak ya, nggak boleh. Nggak boleh sombong, nggak boleh sombong. Kira-kira begitu. Lalu Mas Reza, yes, well, very. Even when I want to share what we experienced during the research. Even when we encounter groups, sometimes we can encounter certain version of the group. For example, Bung Erik and Mbak Ida went to Medan to interview certain Bataks. There's two Bataks, apa namanya, groups gitu ya, atau other places. Yeah, they have their own group A and group B. That's not necessarily, they are not necessarily get along together. Or in my research as well, it's not necessarily get along together. They have their own versions. Last, we speak about more complex, not more complex, more larger group like Christianity. There's a lot of aspiration about digital technology. A lot aspiration about digital technology. Up until present day, for example, a year ago, I was invited by a certain denomination, invited me because I'm an outsider from this group, in order to convince part member of their group, don't stop using the digital technology, because there's member of their group that want to stop. Okay, now it's already epidemics, no more pandemic. Why we just coming back to our earlier, the pre-pandemic situation? So they invite me in order to tell these people, don't stop using this digital technology. My response is nuances, because yes, we can use digital or not using digital. Other aspect, we not depending upon digital technology, but other aspect can be mobilized through digital technology. There's a very dynamic situation, but the point is, in this group, Christianity, let alone Islam, there are many debates on this adoption of digital technology, especially because of the pandemic. This is the uniqueness of the pandemic, because pandemic mobilized almost en masse people, religious people, to this digital realm. Beforehand, the debate is very isolated among groups, among denomination, and so on and so forth. But after the pandemic, they need to truly think about that. As a Christian myself, I already wrote a very small article about we need what's called not ecclesiology. Ecclesiology is the science of church, but ecclesiology, electronic. Keren ya, cool kan? Ecclesiology. We need that in order to respond. And in my point, ecclesiology is not about embracing totally about digital technology, because when we speak digital technology, it always imply the non-digital aspect as well.
Do you think yeah, do you think the do you think the secular movement then will be a lot easier to adopt this technology, because we in religious sense we have something to preserve, but I don't think, well, maybe I don't notice the same traditional preservation for the secular movements. So I assume they are more open to this adoption. So how do you think that the digitalization will revive the secular movement after the religious retaliation for the secular movement? And then do you think the digital shift will then shift the power back to the secular movement?
Yeah, well, if you think secularism is part of belief, then it's simply like any other belief. Yeah, we have the issue of freedom of religion or belief. So irreligiosity is part of belief. It's belong to religion, not secularism, but irreligiosity. So I think, and secondly, I'm not responding to you immediately because you need to check again, and that's not part of our research. But secondly, we have to frame digital technology or digital platform as an ecosystem. So it's not speaking about one group want to use knife as an instrument to do something. Digital technology is more than that. It's an ecosystem, like any other. Like this meeting is also an ecosystem, connecting with LCD, connecting with people, connecting laptop, and so on and so forth. So we need to treat it like that. So not either or situation, but how far you want to explore, how far you limit the usage of the digital technology, something like that. Okay, thank you very much for your attention, kind attention. Belum ya.
Okay, thank you, Paleo, for your response. Maybe any questions? Oh, 1, 2, and 3. Still have time, ya?
So first, thank you for asking me for the question. I am Nur Hanifah Ahmad from S1, fresh graduate from S1 SA UIN Sunan Kalijaga, and this in many question about near from my research from in the Vihara near Malioboro in about Confucians in religion Penghayat. I want if in this Vihara they religion that people have religion Confucians with live with digital because they cannot do because they ibadah dalam in real life it. So from this, I want question about how this result about this in confusion in era and post pandemic or in area pandemic. Thank you.
Ya, dulu ada langsung.
Thank you very much, Mbak. Mbak siapa tadi? Hanifah. Okay. Yeah. I think when we discuss with Confucian, they don't have digital problem with that because they, Confucianism. Yeah, we need to aware that Confucianism is a complex religion and they have different expression. Some of the Confucians prayer in kelenteng, biasanya Tridharma, including 3 religions, Taoism, Buddhism, and Confucianism. And there's a Confucianism who prayer in Litang. That's under the Matakin or supervision. They have their own, theology and so on. But thus far, we don't see from their expression they have problem with this situation during the pandemic, because they simply adapt to that. People doesn't have to pray in kelenteng, and I already show about the digital. Of course, that's I don't know the seriousness of this video, Ya, sembahyang langsung sembahyang begitu. Yeah, this is the Kelenteng version of Confucianism, but not the Matakin. Matakin doesn't do that. Yeah, that's why there's no problem with them. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm JR from East Nusa Tenggara, from Soe. So yeah, yes. Thanks you that you know my place. It is wonderful, and I think my question will be not necessary, but because you get paid, you have to answer, whether you like or not. um, I'm in Mas Ancu class last semester. We read we have a like a traumatic book. Sorry, that a very fantastic book. Nilai sudah keluar. Digital Religion, the writers, namanya siapa itu? Ya, Campbell. Oh, kamu presentasi ya. I read the religion was prohibited by Christian paganism. That thought like the digital is sin and obstacle to our way to heaven. So like pagan. So like seemingly Christian would praise pagan as God. Pagan. Technology as God. So does the similar concept appear from other religious or maybe religion that all of you research, like does Baha'i has like dogmatics obstacle or teaching that disallowed they from internet, or like Yahudi Greek Yahudi Greek Yahudi and Jews, not Greek Jews. Sorry, Jews. Yeah, Jews. So English is not my language. And other, yes, Tony, we speak to Usneno. And other, yeah, like, this is my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that's within the debate, but thus far our group that we are engaged, we are only engaged with 10 groups altogether. So very small number compared to 179 groups has to be dealing with. And we will start again the project this year. We want to have more engagement, and our main question will be like that. How they understand technology, especially digital technology. Technology is always there. It's part of culture. Any culture produce and maintain technology. Human being is homo technologicus. Technologicus. We are always using technology to do. As a homo faber, as a working human, we always employ technology. But digital technology is transform humanity very different direction. So what you mentioned about Christianity, that's thinking technology is part of paganism, this very mild response, in fact. A much more harsher response is digital technology is part of Antichrist. Antichrist is the Dajjal, Christian version of Dajjal. Just with my article going to be published in the coming months about Akhir Zaman, there's group that saying digital technology is part of the 666. Way in Hebrew is way, word wa in Arabic or wow in Hebrew is 6. So way is 666. So you can see, yeah, right, cool, right? Yeah, it's but from our perspective is part of the debate internal debate. Always like that. When pandemic came, I don't know in Timor, but part of the Gimmicks members saying that or accepting others outside argument that pandemic is part of the Antichrist project. Right? Just wait for my article to learn it from. Yeah, hopefully. Kira-kira begitu.
Thank you, Pak Leo.
Yeah. Yes, my name is Puja. I'm from Good Family. Enggak. Yeah. After you did your research, and we know that technology, digital virtualization, that will be more developed, more broader, more abroad. And do you think that will be any worries that minorities include indigenous communities or religion will be lost their secretness or their sense of religion? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know the answer. The question is so difficult. It's very, I don't answer, especially for the group we are engaging with. Yeah, we have to check, and hopefully in the coming research project, we can include your question as well. But in the larger discussion of religious response to technology, it's always like that. There is always, in fact, if you read the book by Alfred Rogers, Diffusion of Innovation, the way people accepting innovation, accepting new technology, there are always people who challenge. There's always the people who adopting immediately. It's called early adopter. That's every time they have money, they buy a new gadget and so on. But other people is always cautious with that new development because challenging the worldview, challenging the way religious practicing, and so on and so forth. It's always like that. Imagine now we are very common to have religion have their own written record as a scripture and so on and so forth. But imagine in the earlier period, recording word of God is a sin. Many religions started with oral tradition. It needs a new mind, new religious mind to reframing, reinterpret, molding our religious worldview. So our hope is that these groups have a capacity to respond to that kind of situation. My hope and let's say optimism is that nowadays we are truly living in very much digital world, very much like or dislike, which means that any religious group, any kepercayaan, any penghayat has to ask that question as well. And we found this kind of confirmation from Cipta Gelar community. No problem with them. And they found justification from their own ancestor. Nenek kami sudah bilang, Anda harus adaptasi. I'm paraphrasing. I have to check again. Mbak Ida knew better. Mbak Ida want to respond to this. Kira-kira begitu kan? Nah, ini Mbak Ida yang menghadap langsung dengan Abah Ugi dan the gang lah, kira-kira begitu. Itu jawabannya begitu. Itu and their apa namanya their justification is calling back their ancestor that they already knew this kind of wind of change going to happen to their community. Pasti akan ada perubahan, pasti ada banyak hal yang terjadi, kita harus beradaptasi. Kira-kira begitu. Of course, we cannot say that this is representing all Penghayat because we cannot yet come to their groups. Hopefully this year we can collect more data from them. Tapi nanti akan dimasukkan pertanyaan dari Puja gitu ya bilangnya. Good family. Ya. Puja the good family.
Okay, thank you, Pak Leo. Is there any? Ya, silakan Mas. Please introduce your.
Thank you. Thank you, Pak Leo, for your presentations. I'm Revan from this earth. This earth. So there is no planet other than this earth, right? Yeah. Plan A, plan B, I forgot. Okay, digital world shaping our religiosity, and there are many possibilities will going on in digital religions. I remember about this minority, Jehovah Witnesses. So they have a very established websites. So very good rather than your religions. If your religion is still using a gratisan website, they have established websites and very sophisticated. I was introduced by some believer about their website and dibujuk untuk rajin-rajin ke sana. But and I try to raising an issue about is it still possible? Is it still relevant to use majority and minority if we say that Jehovah Witnesses as a dominant, as a very advanced into digital world rather than ourselves as a dominant group, dominant religion, which is still using gratisan websites, blog, WordPress. Is it still relevant to use that terms? Some story, Pak Leo. Thank you.
Thank you, Mas Revan ya. From Planet A ya, Planet A bukan Planet B ya. Okay. Do you want to know about Planet A and Planet B? Visited my posting. Yeah, jadi, yes, very true. Your question is very correct that minority majority is irrelevant in terms of exposure, digital exposure. That you picked a very good example. Jehovah Witness is one, not only the most advanced, among the most advanced website, but also have a longer period of existence using technology. Very active, very very early adopter, a kind of early adopter kind of group that's as early as possible to adopt new technology. The problem is we're not checking on specifically to this group because one of in our proposal we truly clearly mentioned that we are not touching upon the internal dynamic of big religion, big in terms of established religion. Regardless of the uniqueness of Jehovah Witness, Saksi Jehovah, they are considered, at least in Indonesia, considered part of Christianity. Even though many Christians, traditional Christian doesn't want to associate with them. But anyway, they are in larger part closer to the mainstream Christian narrative. So we don't touch that specifically. But when we mention about minority groups, again, is in terms of number, then simply because not many really comprehensive research dealing with this group in terms of digital exposure. Thus far, probably in Indonesia, this is the first time. Probably, kan nggak boleh sombong ya. Probably this is first time. So which means the minority group in this regard is too limited. And we have a clear methodological explanation that we dealing based on the Dirjen KMA for the Penghayat, plus others who not belong to this the supervision of MLKI, then non-state sponsored world religion, Sikhism, Taoism, Judaism, and Bahaism, then Confucianism as part of the six religions sponsored by the state. So we very much restricted to that situation. But you are correct that minority is irrelevant when we speak about the digital exposure. Jangan lupa ya, lihat kontennya, kasih komen. Juga yang di YouTube. YouTube. Di bawah ini.
Okay, thank you, Paleo. We still have just like 10 minutes to deliver more question to Paleo. Yeah? Oh, two question ya. Silakan baca.
Okay. Hello, Paleo. My name is Icha from CRCS. I actually this is like a follow-up questions from what Puja have already said. So you mentioned earlier about like this digital ecosystem in like religious community. And I kind of remember like in the last semester, we also learned about digital religions, and I kind of curious about how actually this religious community in general, or this religious minority could draw the sacred space or the sacredness inside of the digital religions. Because if I could reflect on like my pandemic experience when we have to, for example, like conduct Salat Idul Fitri at home, is kind of, no, this is not a Salat Idul Fitri, nggak lebaran gitu. So how actually this digital, I mean, in the future, this digital performance could draw the sacred space on it. Yes, thank you.
Langsung? Langsung aja ya. Oke, ini agak sulit, nggak Ica dijawab sih sebenarnya. Ica di dinding. Huh? Well, I think it has to let the community group to respond to that. That's beyond our research observation. We found groups that's not asking yet at all of this question, because they are truly living in the very close-knitted society. For example, like Boti community is only one out of puluhan orang in the group, only one that have a cell phone, and the cell phone is not truly explored. So only for communication, kirim SMS, WA, that's all, nothing else. So in this kind of group, of course, that's not yet their immediate question. But we know, again, Cipta Gelar is a very good example how they immediately respond to this technology. And but there's a lot of examples in which sacredness is, rather than shifting the line, we redefine what's so-called sacredness. We make it a network part of the engagement. For example, I don't know yet whether this kind of service still active, but there's a funny posting in Twitter or Instagram. Saya anak yatim, doanya kan pasti dijawab Allah lah. Jadi siapa yang butuh doa nanti saya akan doakan gitu ya. Ada yang ingat ya, kelebihan saya anak yatim. Nah, kira-kira begitu. We can make fun on that, and ada orang yang mau minta, kalau butuh doa saya bisa doakan. Kelebihan saya adalah saya anak yatim. Doa anak yatim itu kan lebih didengarkan, lebih ijabah. Kira-kira begitu, lebih manjur. Kita bisa ketawa, we can make a laugh on that, but you can see how boundary is always dynamic, fluid. Someday probably can acceptable. And second question is Hindus, American Indian in the United States who want to do puja in a certain temple or temple. There is puja. Terlalu sacred. Jadi there's people who provide services to do puja in the temple. Puja as a verb ya, bukan not as a noun. Melakukan puja in certain by sending email and pay something and I will do it for you. Itu sudah ada. And a lot of other examples, which mean, the religion is very rich with narrative, rich with possibilities, rich with interpretation. There is always people who try to purify, make a strong boundary, garis keras, garis lurus, and so on. But there is people belong to Garlusians. You know Garlusians? Garis lucu. Ians. Kaum garis lucu itu Garlusians. Jadi ateis garis lucu, Konghucu garis lucu, and so on. Ini dari Konghucu garis lucu. Nanti cek aja di akun Twitternya. Dapat video ini. They don't want to make a fun. They take religion seriously, but in different framework. Nah, kira-kira begitu. But again, thus far we not yet touching upon to that issue in our own informants. Yeah.
Maybe this is the last question, yeah.
Thank you. My name is Nurul Istiqomah from first graduate Mercubuana University. Mercubuana. Yes. Wates. I want to ask a question. So I ever read a comic. Yeah. It's all psychology. So the way some minorities gathered and some people, the biggest brain there, produce hatred from these minorities. So they produce some hoax or even true about discrimination about them, and it produced hatred and become terrorism. So I mean, in this reality, it maybe happens to this reality also. So, digital literacy, it becomes too seperti pedang bermata dua. It can be so. So it can be so dangerous, and also in other ways, some people can share their struggle to each other, to people they don't know. I mean, terlepas dari out of this context, so I have my gay friend, and they he comes from fanatic family, so they have very vegetarian. Well, yeah, they are he gains network with friends. So, but I think in all these gimmicks and polemic comes from how journalists glorifying or dramatizing, even use fantastic headlines. I mean, this girl from what and do what, so this girl not just herself but in her group become discriminated and also and else. So in your research, are you still or are you still engaged with journalists to apa namanya, how they gain some literacy to not discriminating or using fantastic headlines on this? So, sorry.
Sebelum saya jawab, ini sudah 14.30. Tolong Krisnya lagi ya, buat nambah supaya bisa dilanjut lagi. Ya pakai Kris aja. Qrisnya mana nih? Nambah 50 saya lanjut nih. Tunggu part 2-nya ya gitu. Terlalu. Yeah, I think I try to grasp what your try to express. Mungkin about ini ya, mungkin kayak bahasa Indonesia aja kali ya. Kira-kira tentang digital literacy itu pedang bermata dua. I truly get that. Betul ya. Yeah, I think digital technology is always produce. Yeah, as an ecosystem is produce bad and good thing. To make it simple, of course, there's a very complex situation, complex elaboration, and so on. But yeah, that's why that's basically the underlying ideas of digital literacy to prevent from hoaxtivism, from hatred, hate speech, and so on and so forth, especially toward vulnerable group, not only minority groups, but vulnerable groups. Yeah, you already mentioned that. As an ecosystem, of course, it's always possible. My suggestion, as you all of you here are scholars, to see the evaluative categories of good and bad in continuum. Jadi penting untuk mempertimbangkan yang namanya negatif positif itu bukan kategori terpisah, tapi in continuum. There is a term in English, hospitality. Pernah dengar ya? Artinya keramahan. Itu dengan hostility, itu satu akar kata. Hospitality and hostility is the same root of host. Hostess, hospes, which is, it means tamu. So tamu can be, a stranger can be enemy, but can be a friend. That's why we have hospitality, embracing them as a friend, but hostility, the dangers also came from the enemy as a stranger. This is happening in digital technology. In my evaluation, we done a lot of research. We have one research about hoaxtivism. Please read that as well. Di link bawah ini. Nowadays, hate speech, hatred, hoax is not about true or not the truthfulness of the message. Hoax zaman sekarang itu bukan soal ini beritanya benar atau salah. Banyak orang kena hoax karena berita itu memang salah. Tapi sebagian lagi memang memakai hoax itu sebagai weaponized information. And this is very challenging, and that's exactly at the heart of the logic of digital. Logic of digital is one, everything is instrumentalized. Anda bilang kebenaran, yaitu kebenaran yang sudah dimediasi dan instrumentalized. Benar kan? Kita bilang love itu bisa tanpa rasa cinta sedikit pun. Bisa WK tanpa ketawa. Why? Because WK is instrumentalized. It's already instrumentalized. It is mediated. Ini teori nih tentang teori digital. Mesti nambah bayar dulu nih. Tambah bayaran dulu dong nih. Secondly, the logic of digital is it's focusing on accessibility. Siapa saja yang mampu mengakses, punya akun di mana-mana, it's have a better chance to influence, to control the opinion, the public opinion. Thirdly, digital technology transform from discourse to information. Kasus M dan D yang sekarang ini, nonton lagi postingan saya yang terakhir. Gitu. Itu adalah contoh bagaimana wacana itu berubah menjadi informasi. Orang hanya lihat Rubiconnya saja, si cowok ini dan Rubicon. Nggak lihat proses di balik itu. Mengapa dia begitu? Mengapa begini dan begitu? Nggak ada kesempatan. We are too short to digest the information. Ya, jadi itu kondisinya. The fourth is, sorry tadi itu bukan efficiency ya. The digital logic is using efficiency. Jadi yaitu tadi efisiensi sangat ditekankan. Orang cepat sekali dan seketika isu Rubicon berubah menjadi restoran ibunya yang ada di Jogja dibikin 1 bintang gitu loh. Like they become they degraded into the public enemy number 1. Nah, itulah kondisi digital. Gitu ya, itu pengantar kuliah religion online. Jadi memang kalau mau menangani itu, merespon itu ya harus berada dalam logik itu juga. Mengapa kalau Anda ingin membantu kelompok minoritas misalnya harus menggunakan bahasa-bahasa yang seperti itu, bukan panjang lebar, menerangkan dan sebagainya, enggak. Butuh pakai logik efisiensi, aksesibilitas, instrumentalisasi dan sebagainya. Jadi saya nggak bisa jawab langsung, tapi kira-kira seperti itu. Terima kasih.
Okay, please give applause for Paleo. Once again, thank you very much, Paleo, for your shining, simmering, splendid presentation, which lead us to a new horizon of digital media, yeah, specifically for minority and vulnerable groups. And announcement for all of us for the next Wednesday Forum. It will be on 8 March 2023, and the speaker is Mbak Sadia Ma'ruf. She is a stand-up comedian. So for the next Wednesday Forum, maybe we'll have just like in a little bit different forum, not very serious like Paleo did next week. So don't forget to come. And for the place, we will let you know later, because next week we want to use an auditorium in 5th floor, but since it's already occupied by another study program, so we will move maybe in UKDW or UIN Sunan Kalijaga. We will let you know later. So to close this Wednesday Forum today, please Mas Ancu to give some souvenir to Paleo. Yes. Di sini, Mas.
Mas. Mas Leo, ya ampun kita.
Nggak kelihatan. Nah, ya, oke.
Luar biasa.